For tonight's big story, let's get back to the charter party, should we? You're like, no. I'm like, yeah, we should. Last night, I force-fed you information about Portland's antiquated form of government with the anticipation of every TV and live stream turning off simultaneously as people with pitchforks surrounded KGW to protest boring television. But to my surprise, you actually seem to value it, maybe even like it. A lot of you had follow-up questions, so we're going to get into a few of those tonight. You know, sometimes I feel like if high school me met right now me, that he'd try to like shove me into a locker, which of course he'd fail at doing because of my old man strength. But regardless, here we are. Steve emailed me and said, I do wonder if changing to a non-commission style government might be a lot more expensive. And the answer is, Steve, yes, it would be a lot more expensive. But before we get into the details and all that stuff, why don't we do a quick, tiny little recap just to get everybody on the same page, up to speed here. Right now, the Charter Commission is meeting to discuss how the city of Portland works, and they're considering a change to our commission style of city government. Portland is the only major city in the country that still uses a commission style, meaning that all four commissioners and the mayor, they run on citywide elections instead of representing districts, right? And they all have tons of power, more than most commissioners or council people do, because on top of voting for and making laws, they also run the city bureaus like police and fire and transportation and housing, etc. Now, last night we heard from Professor Mark Steffen from Washington State, who's working with City Club to make recommendations to the Charter Commission, and he thinks that it's time for a change.
The overall perspective was that if we could switch our form of government, it would be more effective. It would lead to a more, in fact, cohesive city council working towards the benefit of the whole city, and it would better represent the interests of the whole city.
I'm already starting to lose you. Stay with me, all right? Because now you're going, all right, we got Professor Mark and the City Club and the Charter Commission, and they're presenting to the commissioners. Who are these people? What does this have to do with me? You're thinking, who cares? And I'm saying, you should care a lot. Okay, because the Charter Party bus stops with you. The only way there's a real change to what happens to this city is if you vote on it. So I want you to know about this stuff. Shove me into a locker if you can. Now, let's get back to Steve's email. I do wonder if changing to a non-commission style government might be more expensive.
My sense is that education and outreach, which is going to be a priority in Portland, would take time and money both, right? So there'd be a lot of money going into making those switches. There'd also be money that would need to be spent on administrative costs and just reorienting the council towards legislative functions and then elevating people that have been, the second in command at bureaus into being the top of command. So yes, I mean, there's going to be some administrative costs here. The long-term, I think, hope was that this would actually pay for itself, that it would pay for itself in terms of more responsive and efficient government. That would be the goal. That would be the goal, actually.
I think you just answered my follow-up, but what would you say to people who look at the expense of all this as a deterrent for making the change?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is what I'd say to them is, what's it worth to have a more responsive government? What's it worth to have better representation of all the citizens of Portland? Is it worth spending maybe hundreds of thousands, millions more over a span of years, I would say, to get to that point? And if people say, no, we got to save every single penny, then I would say, okay, then we're going to trade off better government and a little more money up front for money saved and a government that's not functioning as well as it could.
Now, one new expense that would most likely come with the change would be the hiring of a city manager. Right now, Portland doesn't have one. The city manager would manage the city. It's pretty self-explanatory. But what would that job pay? I don't know exactly, but I can tell you that in the 2020-2021 fiscal year, our city commissioner's salary was $125,694, and the job of mayor paid $149,261. So a city manager, I guess, would probably make something in that ballpark. I know that Beaverton's new city manager has a salary of $180,000 a year, and I say new because Beaverton actually just created that position, leaving Portland as the only major city in Oregon without one, which leads me to this question from Linda. She said, Hey Dan, Beaverton is in the process of switching over right now from a mayor to a city manager. Perhaps a story on how that is going. Now, just to be clear, Beaverton still has a mayor who is not this person you see in the picture there. That's the old mayor. I digress. Adding the city manager doesn't get rid of the mayor. It just adds some new responsibilities to these jobs. Voters approved this during the 2020 primary election. It also moved the mayor into a voting member of the city council and added some term limits to everybody. But the question is, how is all that going?
I think it has been an adjustment for Beaverton, and it has come with, I'd say, as much sort of just time cost of figuring out how to do things as it is. And so that's, time is money. So on some level, yes, some costs go into this, but it's about adjusting to a new way of interacting for the council, interacting with the mayor and the city manager. And yeah, it's not necessarily like you snap a finger and it's changed overnight. It's going to take some time, no matter where it happens.
It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be cheap. But did you think it was going to be either of those things? After all, maybe we should just reach out to Beaverton and say, how's it going? Maybe we'll do that. That's something we might do next if you're still into this story. You are, right? I mean, it's important stuff. If you have questions, first, you can check out some of our coverage from last night. You can see that on our YouTube channel. Also, you can find a link on my Facebook page. I go into a bit more detail about Portland's current style of government. Trust me, it's interesting. Believe me. Also, send us your questions, as you always do, and we'll do our best to answer them.